So the truth is, there were about 4 bills.
Watch this video. Listen very well.
Anything, the Senate will pass that tax bill, and it's as good as a done deal. Because yesterday, after all the Order 12 rule book scenario that Ali Ndume and Nengi tried to do to be able to disrupt the people coming in, and it was because the likes of Taiwo Idele and Zacchaeus Adedeji and the likes were coming in to the place to come and make clarification and explanation. And that's why they put that forward. So once, kudos to Bamidele, MOB, and other senators out there that stood their ground, and also Jibrin Baral, that stood his ground. Because you see, you cannot have an argument in the Senate, and real dramatic personnel in that argument are not made to come and enunciate their views. It is only fair to hear all sides. So I didn't support that drama by Ndume yesterday. Yes, I know what he's talking about, the rule book. But for us to be able to get clarity as regards the tax matters, you should be able to allow the likes of them Oyedele to be able to come into the hall, and they will be grilled, and they'll be able to make their presentation. And maybe like he knew that their presentation was going to sway people yesterday, that's why he was, saying all of that to try to block it, but it was overruled by Barrow. And their presentation did sway a lot of people yesterday. And that's what has happened as regards this tax, law. The 4 bills there are very clear. What are some of the components of this bill? It's going to deal a lot with corporate taxing. Yes, 15% will be taxed for profits, for corporations. But also, this tax rule is very sensitive enough to understand that business make losses. So all the minimum tax threshold that businesses are ought to pay when they make losses will not be paid. And which is a welcome development, because we keep talking about the fact that government doesn't provide for a lot for businesses, and when they have problems, even in their losses, you are haggling them with all sorts of taxes. And that's a welcome development. Secondly, he talked about the fact that the tax is one for the poor, and he was empirical in his fact. He said those that earn about 1 million threshold, which is one of the highest in Africa, will not pay taxes. So those that earn cumulatively 800,000 naira a year, plus an extra 200,000 they pay for rent, will not pay that income tax threshold. But obviously, those that earn higher will be able to pay higher on the income tax threshold. But my grouse has always been, hope all what we collect in these taxes, we use it to subsidize life for the poor. Because that's the way it works in other countries. But in this country, the rich gets richer, they don't even pay taxes. I think the very first person that tried to have conversations about taxation in recent time was the former Minister of Finance, when the one that was, Kemi Adeosun, and she made a very startling revelation that says not up to, in a country where they say a lot of billionaires, not up to 100 people pay over 20 million naira in income taxes in this country. And it was a big revelation when they made that revelation there. And we see a lot of private jets here and there and all of that. This was the same country that a leader once said, the fact that the country is growing was because there was a lot of private jets owned by Nigerians somewhere. But the truth has to be said, people were not paying their fair share in taxes. So that point now has been clarified. Also, it goes further to talk about the VAT, which is a contentious, and I get the argument from most parts, a certain part of this country. Because we have not seen a great production and consumption threshold from that part. This is the same part where we hear that some religious police destroy a lot of alcohol. And alcohol presents about 2% to the VAT. And you destroy that. So if you do not consume effectively, you cannot get your equitable share for not consuming the tax system. So it's only clear and clear. I even think, and kudos to Taiwo Idele on it, I might disagree with him on other things. I even think to a large extent, this will spur a great deal of consumption. So governors in these states that are not meeting the threshold of consumption will buckle up and be able to ensure they create consumption. And how can they do it easily? Tourism potentials. There are many tourism potentials in the north that has not been tapped into. I mean, I don't know why today around the Mambela Plateau area, cable cars have not been built. They can't build resort hills and mountains around the Mambela area. That will be able to bring in a lot of influx of people, and it will bring about tourism potential. Look at the Yankari Game reserves. Look at other natural resources. So it's about spurring productivity in this area. And most importantly, he talked about harmonization of creation of new tax offices and all of that, and harmonization of the hitherto existing bills. I think for further reading, a lot of Nigerians will also go and study the bill even better. But barring any last-minute changes, it's going to go through in the Senate. And this is another way for President Tinubu. And in terms of consultation, give it to Taiwo Oyedele. He made his wide consultation. People were represented on this body. He's been at this since his administration started. And let us only see. See, any tax bill obviously will be up for reviews. If people have other considerations, they should be able to itemize this consideration and put in the review when it finally pushes on.